Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 1, Episode 8 of A Breath of Fresh Career. I'm Justin Kane. I'm the host. I'm joined here by Erik Groninger. Erik is a Director of Sales Development and Inside Sales at stickyio. He's a Florida native, recently engaged. He grew up playing team sports. Every single person I bring on here, Erik, is an athlete. And we should probably talk a little bit about how that makes you a good seller and how that makes you a good worker. Grew up playing lacrosse, basketball. He still plays a lot of basketball in the evenings and enjoys everything saltwater related, including, diving, fishing. I'm not a diver, man. I claustrophobia and surfing, which is really cool. I've surfed and obviously fished. And very important, he's a dog owner, like myself, like my family. Gotta love the dogs. So is there anything else that you want to tell our audience about you that I didn't mention?
No, I think you hit that spot on. Born and raised in Florida, as outside of Florida would know me as the Florida man. You don't see me in the news though.
That's a good thing these days, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So question, tell us in your own words about stickyio. What's your company do?
Yeah, so from a high level, we're a back-end e-commerce platform that really is built to help brands customize their full experience, really from front to end. We are on the back end, so we do not do the front end capabilities that the customer sees. But if you wanted to have a flexible subscription model, something similar to BarkBox, if you have a dog, you get new toys every month. Maybe they're seasonal toys, for Halloween. Those are very hard to really orchestrate on the back end in order to have that customer experience be something new, unique every month. Our platform really helps brands do that on top of straight sales trials, everything else along the way.
I'll put a link to sticky.io in the notes for this interview, this podcast. But it's just for our listeners right now. Is it a big company? I mean, I know that you've come from a publicly traded SaaS company in the past, 25-year-old company, et cetera. Tell us a little bit about the size and I guess, how many folks you have there.
Yeah. As far as big, we're more in the startup phase. The company's been around from 10 years, but was a shell 10 years ago of what it is today. It was more focused on payment processing, but we are in a big growth mode. Last year, we had about 45 employees. This year, we have to date about 75. A lot of that goes into sales and marketing, hence why I was hired in December, but really growing and looking to capitalize on everything that is e-commerce and the right time to do it with the pandemic, of course.
Yeah, for sure. You are Director of Sales Development and Inside Sales there. Tell us about your role there. What's the day in the life of a Director of Sales Development?
Yeah, really, as far as sales development goes, it's all about bringing in new opportunities or helping expand existing ones. So from a day-to-day, it's pretty simple, right? Go find people, talk to them, get them interested in the platform, and create meetings with them. Get our sellers on the phone, give them the context they need to really help progress the deal. So it's not just here's someone who's interested in sticky.io, but here's someone who's interested for X, Y, and Z. Of course, being the director, I am leading a team here. So a lot of my day-to-day is focused on helping each of my reps progress, whether it's phone conversation, emails, knowledge of the industry. That, of course, can be pretty wide. But the ultimate goal is helping them progress into more of a AE role or an enterprise sales position.
You got to show the path. You got to show the path to, upward mobility, career growth and mobility. So your team is doing a lot more than just appointment setting, right? Mm-hmm. It's really figuring out why the client, company, the customer would utilize, I guess you could call it the pain points, right? Why and where and how they would utilize sticky.io's solution and then informing the enterprise level sellers of why they're taking the call with you. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. So really getting into, more of, as I mentioned, the XYZ, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily just, hey, here's someone who came to our website and they want to talk. But here's someone that came to our website. They have the budget. It seems that they have a unique use case that fits what our platform is. And here's how I think we can win. So giving them as much information as possible and making sure there's a smooth handoff from sales development to more of the account management space of sales.
How many folks are on your team today?
So we have a team of three, looking to hopefully expand before the end of the year. But team of three right now, one of which is in an inside sales role that I manage as well. He started as an SDR, and I was very happy and humbled to promote him and continue managing him in more of the SMB space, which he's been a rock star and really been taken off since, you know, uh, taking that promotion.
Yeah, yeah, great. That's awesome. So you're actually managing a team of SDRs right now. Although it's small today, it's going to grow. And the folks that are sitting around you are seeing people get promoted, within the organization. That's huge, because they're going to go tell their friends who are also great SDRs, and they're going to come back and they're going to say, "Hey, I got this great guy or great gal that I think would be great for us, and this is why." So that's huge. When this is kind of tied into a breath of fresh career. What do you look for when you interview candidates? And let me ask the second part to that question. Like, what can someone do to stand out to you as a good candidate?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's, in my opinion, one of the hardest traits to recognize, but work ethic. It's something that everyone can talk the talk, but are they going to walk the walk?
Yeah.
But work ethic and drive really are the two things that you want to look for in somebody in this role. I don't believe that you can take context clues from a resume. If somebody's been an SDR at 5 different companies, they may be good at the role, but they may not be driven to move forward. And that's why they keep changing positions. It's not a bad thing, right? There are definitely SDRs that, they don't aspire to be an AE. They enjoy just the sales development, the quick hello and goodbyes. But really work ethic, drive, and being a self finisher. As the team grows, if I have somebody that is going to require a lot of my attention every single day, it's going to take away from helping the entire team grow, and it's going to be focused on just that one individual. So you're looking for really those traits. There's a second question to that, and it slipped my mind.
How can someone stand out to you as a good candidate when you're looking at them? Obviously, you said it yourself. It's hard to identify, but work ethic and drive. But I think the minute you talk to somebody and the minute you're a really good judge of character as well. I mean, I put a little pat on my back. I mean, I found you for them, and those are the two things that I identified really quickly. Clearly, growing up playing lacrosse, playing basketball, continuing to, have a passion for athletics and sports, like it, dude, that ties into it, man. And it doesn't matter what sport it is, right? It doesn't matter what sport it is. It can be. I interviewed a couple episodes ago, competitive cyclist. The guy was a Division I college cyclist. And I mean, you think about that drive. I mean, you're on your bicycle for 4 or 5 hours yourself, but like, just that focus and that, like, it's crazy. So going back to that, is there anything, and we can talk about LinkedIn, we could talk about on a resume, like, or do you like people to just come in and just be completely transparent, straightforward? Like, tell me a little bit about how somebody can stand out to you.
Yeah, I think a few things I've seen potential reps do that really stood out to me is one, approaching me before the interview, right? Whether they're reaching out to me, that's going to be a good sign that they can do the sales development side of the job, right? They're actively reaching out to a prospect, the prospect being the employer. That's obviously great.
Okay, let me just stop here for a second. So you've got an interview set up with Bill, I don't know, Brown, just use a name.
Yeah.
And that's set up for next Tuesday. If they proactively reach out beforehand to do what? Is it to say hello? Is it to introduce themselves? Like what?
I mean, you only have so many characters in LinkedIn, right? So
Yeah.
there's a fine line between, sending me an email about why you're the best person for the job before I've spoke to you may be a little bit of overkill.
Yeah,
Um, but
exactly.
just, but just doing that, initial touch, putting in that extra effort, and especially if you're going in, you're finding me on LinkedIn, it's showing me that you know how to find a prospect the same way you would in a sales development role. If they can give any sort of context that is going to be relatable, hey, I noticed you came from Live Person, looked into that company as well, seems pretty cool. Here's what I know about stickyio. Looking forward to our conversation. Just doing something a little bit beyond what I like to call is, I give a crap, right? That's really what you have to portray is I've done my research and here's why. You should consider me above anyone else. It
Got
doesn't
it.
all have to be in that, short message, but it's a good start. And getting back to it, what really is a great way of standing out is also what I test is their verbal communication. It's something that, not everyone has incredible verbal communication day one in an SDR role, but you can tell when somebody has their bulleted list of things they want to say about themselves. And I do a little trick on the interview is I'll try and throw them off a little bit. I try and get them off and ask them a question that they didn't think they were going to get asked and see how they respond. Are they going to go back to those bulleted points that, they have is I need to say X, Y, and Z? Or are they actively listening, thinking about, okay, he mentioned this, maybe I need to steer my conversation a little this way. So it's being able to roll with the punches. As we know in sales development, or anyone who doesn't know, you're going to receive a lot of objections, and it's being able to handle those eloquently and not, be stumble over your words and then starting to figure out where to pick up next.
Yeah, no
Um,
kidding. It's one of the things when I've had a couple recruiters come in and a couple recruiters under me, and I tell them you got to script everything. You can't just wing it. You got to script it, and it might not be a full fledged, I'm reading the script, unga bunga. It's bullet points, right? So that
yeah.
when you do get somebody live, or if you leave a voicemail, you got to be able to transition, the bullet points in the voicemail to an actual conversation in case you get the person live. It's so important. But the people that try to wing it, Eric, they just, like you said, they end up,
Yeah.
stepping on their tongue, literally. You know, in the industry, in not only technology sales but sales in general, there's a difference between sales development and demand gen.
Mhm.
But a lot of people don't know that, right? Because you think, okay, we're generating demand from from potential customers, and we're developing those relationships, and we're developing sales. What is the difference in your eyes? And then how do you and your team work with marketing and demand gen?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the way that I view it is really sales development is going to be more focused on outbound, meaning that, hey, this person hasn't shown any interest in the company. I'm going to do my research on this brand and make it more personalized and find a way to get them interested in Sticky.io or our company, whatever the value prop may be for that particular brand or persona. Demand gen is more focused on the advertising space and more of what we would call inbound leads, as in they've come to our website, they've reviewed our platform, they at least have exposure to us. And then it's about, of course, converting those leads as well. So there's an overlap of both where, you are outbounding and sending ads to the brands that you want to talk to. And then, of course, the sales reps are then engaging those brands. Once again, we're also engaging the inbound that is coming from demand gen. So it's an overlap both ways.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you, because you clearly have, and we're going to get into your philosophy and your process of sales development in a second. But so demand gen gets an inbound lead. They pass that to you and your team, and then you guys go and further qualify that lead and figure out, why they're interested in talking to you guys, and whether or not I'm sure this is a big part of it, like whether or not they're an actual fit as a company for Sticky. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you can put up guardrails for, leads that come in and have a threshold of, hey, it's coming from this account or it's coming from this area. whatever it may be. But still, some of those are going to come through. And you may have somebody that has a Justin@Gmail account that comes to the webpage. They're retired and they don't even know what sticky.io is. Sure, it's a good conversation, and maybe down the line they may end up running a company that uses our backend platform. But is it going to be worth the sales rep's time to engage with that person, keep them in a nurture campaign, and stay engaged with them? Not so much.
Yeah.
So you're right. We are going to be qualifying those inbound leads, making sure they have the budget, the timeline, and the need. But to your point, it really is fostering those leads and turning them into opportunities, and making sure that you're not just passing everything through. You're disqualifying.
When I was selling, I sold affiliate, right? So you can imagine the number of inbounds that would happen. And, I would literally sit there. I'd make a call. I'd take a call. I'd respond to an email, and immediately, I think it's like HTTP Fox or something like that, to figure out like what technologies the site's using, how many site visitors they've got, all that good stuff, to figure out whether or not affiliate's right for them. That's the first step. Is affiliate? Do you have enough traffic to generate enough sales to warrant the expense, the cost of integrating the platform? So that was something that I always did. And you know what, man, you build a ton of credibility, and the number of customers that came back to me a year later, 8 months later, and said, you know what, Justin, our site visits are now up to this, we're ready. They don't go to the competitor. They come to you because you took the time and said, first of all, you either got back to them or you took 10 minutes to sit down with them and talk to them about, the pillars of online marketing and what they can put in place in order to generate more site visitors and more sales before affiliate comes in. So I totally remember that as well. Sales development philosophy. How do you go about generating qualified leads for your team? Where do you find them? What's your process? What's your philosophy?
Yeah, I think it starts really from the account level. It's all about finding, what are the top brands that we're looking for and how do they fit our platform, right? You want to make sure if you're going to spend the time on getting somebody in the door, that it's the right account, right? So for us, we have a subscription lens of our platform that's unique. We're going to look for brands that have a subscription model, or at least have potential to go into a subscription model. And we're going to identify those because they're going to be the biggest revenue drivers for us down the road. Those are the brands that are most successful on our platform. We can speak to that. So really it starts at the account level. But then I view an account as a multi-level complex. It's got all these different doors. There's hundreds of different doors, but all of them lead to the same room. So not anything that's actually out in the world, but a good analogy. It really is more of like a door-to-door method. You're going door to door and you're knocking, and you're trying to find that one person that's going to let you in. And once they open the door, it's your job to then say, hey, here's why you should let us in and how we can help grow this building. Whatever it may be. Somebody opens the door and they're in marketing, your value prop is going to be totally different than somebody who is in e-commerce. Really, it's all about persona-based sales, and that's where the philosophy comes in. Everyone's going to want different things from what you do, and it's all about positioning.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't use that building analogy, but it's the same. It's the same way with me. It's like, it's you're digging, right? And you're looking for gold, and you're digging, and you're digging, and you're digging, and you're digging, and that guy who stops digging and goes on to another one might not hit that vein of gold underneath there. And that one person that takes one or two more, pickaxe chops and hits that vein of gold, it's just flush with gold down there. So yeah, I get it.
There's a great book about that, Justin. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but it's a true story of somebody who actually did that.
Really?
He bought all the gear. Yeah. I'll have to get it to you. I'm sure he'd take a quick Google, but he bought all the gear, went to somebody found a gold nugget, went to the mine, started digging for forever, couldn't find it, sold all the gear. The guy brought in an architect, found out he was, inches away from the gold vein. And it's one of those stories. It's a gut punch, but the guy ended up going on to be very successful in his career because of, that thought of never give up, trained him to, really progress his career further.
Wow.
I'll have
That's
to look up that
awesome.
book, but it's that exact analogy and it's great.
Oh my God. I gotta, yeah, we'll talk about that offline, and once I figure out what book it is, or we figure it out, I'll put a link to that as well. That's pretty cool. I sent you this question. What's the biggest challenge you have with the specific role right now? And how are you going to overcome it?
Yeah, I think, the biggest challenge definitely in sales development, because we're in a startup, it's constantly shifting, right? Our biggest challenge 3 months ago is different than our biggest challenge today.
Right.
One of the biggest challenges that I focus on from a managerial level is helping the reps focus on personal development as well as performance and balancing that. It's one of those things that it's important to make sure you're always focused on growth. But if you spend too much time analyzing your calls, reading books, going over your metrics, refining your craft, you don't spend enough time actually doing the task. So that's one of those that I wouldn't say it's necessarily my biggest challenge, but something that I'm running into recently, especially with newer reps and helping them understand that it's important to hit your metrics, but it's very much so important to take a step back and work on growth, because it will help you hit your metrics easier down the road. Every new rep that comes in wants to just kick ass, right? They want to just dial away, send as many emails as they can, put as many people into sequence as possible, and then, reach out and really, cast a wide net. But the biggest challenge for me is helping them realize that it's going to be better to take a step back and perfect your craft before doing, just more of that day in, day out.
I love these conversations, man, because it just, we talk about something and then it like propels us to the next question. And by the way, that's what good salespeople do as well. So touching back on personal development and working on your own personal growth, how do you continue to learn in order to stay on top of things within your role? What do you do?
Yeah, for me, I mean, it's a lot of reading. Following the right people on LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn's an amazing tool. There's so many good thoughts, bad thoughts out there. You can be the judge of them, but really finding the people that are innovating the space. For me, it's sales development. Following them and taking a page of their book. Not everything they say may be relative to you. Not anyone is doing your exact job. Everyone has to walk in a different pair of shoes. But there's going to be little nuggets in there that are going to be valuable for you. And it's important that while you don't sit on LinkedIn all day, you at least go on, give it 10, 15 minutes, kind of view through what you see and bookmark that kind of rabbit hole, if you want to call it, for another time, whether it's after hours or during lunch if you have some free time. Everyone's at home now, so I
Yeah,
find I'm often eating lunch at my desk.
we all are, man. We all are. Yeah. And you know what? It's funny is I was also talking to another, podcast interview. And this crazy, crazy time with pandemic and riots and fires in other areas of the country and world, has given us the opportunity to do things. You can,
Yeah.
when you're done with work, hopefully you can flip the switch and you go walk the dog and you hang around with your fiance and you do these special things like, spend time with the family, etc. How have you adjusted your approach in your job during this crazy environment with the pandemic? Like what? So here's the deal. If you look at Erik's LinkedIn profile, he started at Sticky in August. He started at Sticky in December of 2019. So December, January, February, he kind of got up and rolling. 3-month time is usually what it takes historically, and then March hit, right? So what have you adjusted? What have you changed in your approach during this pandemic?
As far as I think there's two keys to that, and I think you mentioned it. One would be on the professional side. As far as the job, I've had to onboard my last two reps remotely. Definitely a big shift from in February onboarding the first rep, being in the same room as them, able to listen to every single call they make, being a resource for them where they could kind of just come over and elbow you and say, hey, what did I do wrong? What can I do better? Of course, you're going to give them the feedback immediately.
Yeah, you hear them, they hear you. you
Yeah.
know?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. It's a totally different environment. To then onboarding the last two remotely, what I've had to do is just be more organized. You know, we have so many files at our fingertips, especially now of how much we are online. You know, we're in Zoom rooms. We can record those Zoom rooms, share them. We're constantly have calls, and we can review those calls, the recordings for them. You know, seeing them on emails so that they can see the exact verbiage of different stuff. It's caused me to be more organized, in the sense that I have to capture all this digital data and make sure that they have visibility on it that, you know, they would have had before when they were sitting next to me. Now they don't necessarily. Um, so that's what the way that I've adjusted for onboarding remotely. And then personally, putting blocks on my calendar. You know, I can, you know, some days I'll sit there, especially a Monday or Tuesday. I want to, you know, get as much work done as possible. And I'll get to that point where, um, I'm getting about, I'm working at about a 75% efficiency. It's hard to really gauge, but when you
that's
figure it
pretty
out,
good, by the way.
what?
That's pretty good, by the way. You
Yeah,
know,
well, I mean, you always want to be striving for higher,
of
right? But you
course.
get to the point where you're like, you know what? I'm not doing my best. And I started gauging when those were, and I started putting blocks on my calendar to, you know, like you said, go take the dog for a walk, step away, and not feeling bad about doing it. I think everyone, they want to get their job done. They want to be diligent, and they want to work every hour, you know, to its fullest. But you're going to get more done if you take a step back, allow yourself to refresh, and then evaluate what you need to do when you come back. Um,
Dude,
that's been a big step.
tying in another book, you know, don't blame this one on me if you start doing it. But I was reading about, I forget, I think it was Aubrey Marcus, one of his books, and he talks about, you know, taking that 20-minute or 22-minute nap in the
Mm-hmm.
middle of the day, you know, instead of like crushing a cup of coffee. Literally shut everything off,
Mm-hmm.
put on binaural beats. I've got, you know, Pandora saved binaural beats. I don't do this all the time, but dude, when you do, and that, like the magic of it, and I can't remember the exact, it's like 20 or 22 minutes is like the max you want to sleep. Um, you reset. You reset your, if you go over that, it's too much sleep. And
Mm-hmm.
like you wake up, you could feel a little groggy. But you think about this, like, dude, I'm 46 years old. Like, you know, the thought of taking naps in the middle of the day, you wake up and you've got so much energy. And it's like, it's almost like one day went by, you took this little nap, and now you've got another day that you could do. It's crazy, but it really works really, really well. So, you know, that, you know, and that's time for yourself, dude. It rests your mind. And by the way, we're all looking in these screens all day long, you know, and you know, we're hurting our eyes. We're, you know, cloudy in our brains. So yeah, getting out, walking that dog, getting fresh air. Uh, um, Taking that 22-minute nap. You know, I found that that's kind of like the magic number
Mm-hmm.
for me. And dude, it's nuts. But I don't do it all the time. When I have a men's league hockey game that I get home at midnight, and like, you know, I'm up and drive my kid to school. Our son to school at 7 a.m., you know, and have maybe worked out before in the morning. And those are the days that I'll take like that little 22-minute siesta. Right? I just said it. That's
Yeah.
why a lot of these
Yeah.
countries in Europe shut down, Spain specifically, you know, between X number of hours. They want people to just kind of relax and refresh. You know, it's awesome. It's
Yeah.
really awesome.
No, I love it. And, I have you know, I grew up from my father's custom home builder, very diligent. You know, he went to bed at 9 p.m. and he would get up at 4 a.m. every morning and start working. I mean, he was a very hard worker, and that's really where
That's like my life.
yeah, hey, you know, it's where you know, I get a lot of my drive from, you know, watching him grow up as a kid. And, you know, he'd be up and stirring, you know, real early. But he was the same way. He, around 1 o'clock, would come home, shut off for 15 minutes. Sure, his phone would ring sometimes and he'd have to get back to it. He wouldn't get to get that nap in if not possible. But um, it didn't mean he wasn't working hard. And
Yeah,
that is the thing
you can
that, you
actually
know,
work harder if you take that
yeah,
little
oh,
step back.
absolutely.
You know,
You know, it's not a bad thing. And I think it's about knowing where your productivity is. And that's getting back to when I said, you know, I'm at a 75%. It's hard to really judge, but I think if you put some thought into it on a daily, weekly basis, you know, how hard am I working right now? Am I getting my task done efficiently? And then being able to decide what is that break going to be, whether nap, walk, snack, whatever it needs to be. It's about knowing your body. And I think any profession could be viewed in a sports term as well.
Totally.
You know, LeBron spends a lot of money on his body. He takes,
Yeah. Well, all these guys do, by the way, all these guys do. Like I've got friends that are professional hockey players, and just going right back to the nap thing, you know, like, you know, you don't call or text them, you know, be at 3:00, you know, they're all pretty much taking that hour-long nap because they've weight trained, they've skated, they've, you know, done additional cardio, they've stretched, they've ice bathed, and they've eaten. Holy cow. Talking about spending money. I mean, these guys, they eat like it's unreal, right? You know, and they don't put like a stitch of chemicals in their system. Your body's, the temple is actually, you know, absolutely how they think about it. But yeah, you don't call them at like 3:00 because, you know, these guys are all sleeping, especially game day, you know, right before they've got to get to the rink. And the power of a nap, man, and the power of, you know, taking care of your body for sure. Really quickly, going back to onboarding, remote onboarding. And I'd love to talk a little bit about that. But along the lines of your people, as well as your proactive outreach, what technologies are you using to get your foot in the door with prospective customers?
I would say one of the most important technologies we use is outreach, for the main reason for onboarding. Outreach is a sales enablement tool that allows you to create sequences that are a variation of emails, phone calls, LinkedIn messages, action items, whether that's, you know, look back into the account. But it's a sequence of events that you can put a prospect into. The reason why it's so important for onboarding is I can draft these messages for somebody who doesn't know the industry at all, and help them at least get an idea of what they should be saying to certain prospects, whether it's related to the technology that that prospect is using or the persona. So really it allows new reps to quickly onboard, and they may not know everything coming out of the gate, but at least they have something to start with.
Are you talking about drafting? Are they like internal templates within outreach that your team can see, or is it a customer outreach?
So it's internal templates that they can see and they can use. So you can have lines that, you know, hey, edit this text right here. But the value prop of our company isn't going to change too much. It's going to change based on the technology of the end user, but it's also going to change on their persona. There's, you know, call it 10 different situations, but similar to recruiting, when you're reaching out to somebody, there's only so many different positions that that person can be in. They're looking for a job. They're not looking for a job. They're on that fence, right? Similar with when you're reaching out to somebody, it's important really to make sure that you're expanding your reach, and outreach allows you to do that. So you're not sitting on Gmail all day, drafting each individual email one by one and retyping a lot of the same lines. So it allows you to templatize your outreach and
also customize it. Yeah.
What was that?
And also customize it.
Correct. So you can create a template email or a custom email. It's all in that sequence, right? There's a lot of science in sales development, and it actually shows that the typical prospect doesn't respond until the 8th touch.
Oh my God, my average is the 7th.
Oh, there you go. Hey, you're above average.
Yeah. How about that? I leave that voicemail sometimes. I'm like, you know, hey, Eric, it's Justin. I know my average is about 7 reach outs to get a call back. This is number 3, you know? So you're going to have to deal with me 4 more times. So just do yourself a favor, because I'm not afraid to call you 4 more times. So just, you know, do yourself a favor and call me back. And the number of folks that are like, dude, I'm happy. I love the voicemail, you know, like, you know, hey, I want to connect with you on LinkedIn because I think you're great with the proactive reach out. And like, by the way, those people end up coming back and you end up placing them down the line. So, I've reached out to them 7 times because they look that good, and I want to know them. So it's funny, but yeah, my average is about 7. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
That's
so I think it really, in getting back to the touches and volume, it really depends on the total addressable market you're going after. For what we're going after all e-commerce companies. There's a lot. There are so many mom and pop brands that could be a perfect fit for our platform. So it allows you to prioritize who is going to get the majority of my time when I'm reaching out. And do I want to throw the kitchen sink at this person right away if I don't even know if their email is 100% correct or not? You could spend all this time writing a custom email, perfectly drafted for the company, for the user that you're trying to reach out to or the prospect.
And you
And then
get a
the email
bounce back.
So
Shoot.
it's a time management tool as well. But it's the essentially CRM of a sales development rep that allows you to tag your prospects, based on different fields. That way you can be more effective.
You know what I've been using, and this is funny for me because like this is now the new normal, and the light switch got turned on so quickly with regards to video conferencing. So I'm a phone guy. Like I'm a phone jockey, dude. Give me, 100 dials, 100, whatever. I'll just make them. I'll just sit there until I'm done. I'll do blocks. And you think about it, 10 blocks of 10 and you're done. You know what I mean? I was making, 60 proactive, business development calls before 10 a.m., when I was first recruiting, you know what I mean? And I'm talking about like, not just ripping through a CRM, like actually planning those calls. I've been doing some video emails. Mm-hmm. So recording a video like, hey, Eric, I want to be different. And, I recorded this quick video for you. All my contact information's below, and people, you know what, dude, I was watching the football game last night. Like, I like to see people right now. I like to see people. We're not getting out, so like it kind of gives that personal interaction, and we've got all the technology sitting right in front of us. Record a quick video for somebody. And it's funny. There was this one candidate that I just could not connect with. And it was really funny because you've lived this. They answer the phone and they're on another call and you hear them or a Zoom and they leave it on for a second and then they hang it up because they thought it was ringing. So you knew, one, it was the right number, and two, like, that they were taking the call. So I kept trying, and then I finally dug up this candidate's email and sent a video, and I got an email back like, holy cow, that was you. This is great. Let's set up a time to talk, blah, blah, blah. And it was funny, but
elaborating on that, I think everyone likes to be engaged in different ways. Totally. Sometimes we've converted prospects with a text. They haven't responded to phone calls. They haven't responded to emails. Shoot them a text. It could be a LinkedIn message, a video, as you mentioned. It really can be a lot of different media channels, very similar to omni-channel in the sense that, consumers want to buy in different ways. They want to be sold to in different ways too.
Absolutely. Now, when you say send them a text, does Outreach give you the ability to send an SMS through, or you just pick up your mobile and do it?
Pick up the mobile and do it. If Outreach is viewing this video at another time, it's a great idea.
My CRM has the ability to send SMSs, but I don't do it that way. I go, and it's so funny, because we're all on kind of like iCloud, whoever's using an Apple device, and like you type in their number and iMessage and it's green and you're like, shoot. All right. So then I got to like type this whole thing up on this little phone but yeah, I've gotten people to get back to me as well that way. Tell me a little bit about an SDR, because I want to help you attract good people. Couple things. Is it important that they're in the Tampa area? Because that's where you are right now. Is that where you'd like to have your team?
I think it would be good, but with the state we're in now, I think that's changed. The CEO of our company was very against remote when I first got here. He really believed in company culture, which is exactly the job of the CEO, right? To build a company that has value. And I was on the same page as well. But I think since we've all been working remote, it kind of showed that there hasn't been a downtick in productivity. So I think, while I don't have a rep outside of Tampa right now on my team, it definitely could be somebody
Okay.
that could break that barrier. I don't think it's as hard to break now, considering we're all online.
Yeah, we've all kind of been pushed into it being okay to be remote. It has to be, if you're gonna keep doing it. So a sales development rep, realistically, in the first year, total, what can an SDR make? Realistically, what you
So
think?
it really depends on here at stickyio. You have six-figure potential. You really do. But it depends on where they are and what the goal of the company is. Different companies may have different comp structures, but I'm a big believer that an SDR, if they are a top performing player on the team, they should be able to out earn some of the AEs. There's nothing wrong with that. Everyone's doing their job. Their job is more focused on top of the funnel versus bottom of the funnel. But that function is just as important. So you've got to make sure that you're placing value on that. And everyone values their time. That's why people go to work, is they believe that, hey, my time is worth X amount of dollars. But realistically, I would say on average, SDRs that are, performing well are going to be in that 80 to 90 range. Top performers can break six figures. And it's not a stretch to say that.
That's awesome.
I've worked with plenty of SDRs that have broken that six figures and even up into the 200s.
That's huge.
Very achievable.
Yeah. Tying this back into the beginning part of this interview, I had a question asking you if becoming an SDR is a path, is a stepping stone to becoming an enterprise account executive. You obviously indicated that is in fact the case, if that's what that person wants to be. Now I've recruited, and you said it yourself, like there could be that person out there who just loves being an SDR, who likes the proactive reach out and moving on to the next one. Proactive reach out, set up a call, move on to the next one. And I worked with some really good sales development reps, like really freaking good. That's what they were like designed to do. They don't want to get into travel, and maybe they have a young family at home. Maybe they are cat people and they got 10 cats and they don't want to, and they don't want to leave all their cats at home if they have to travel. SDRs usually don't really have to travel. So, but what you said earlier is that becoming an SDR, being successful. Now that's very important. A lot of people need to realize, as listeners, if you become an SDR, you need to freaking perform. You absolutely need to hit your numbers. There are goals. It's not just showing up, logging in, sending emails, making telephone calls. You need to, and I'd love for you to talk a little bit about this, but in my experience, you need to know how to tell the story, the story that your customer or potential customer wants to hear, and get them engaged. And you need to absolutely generate your number, because if you're not going to be looked at for the next step or rung on the proverbial corporate ladder. Correct in saying that?
Yeah, no, absolutely correct. And I think something that I preach as well is it's not just the corporate ladder here, but if you outgrow this role and we don't have the opportunity for you here at sticky.io, I will be happy to refer you. If you find another company outside, the truth is that there's going to be somebody else that comes into the SDR role and they're ready to kick ass. You want to find those people that are hitting those KPIs and they're going and out every day, giving the consistent and persistent effort to hit their numbers. But when that drive goes away, you've got to find a solution for that person. Obviously, you don't want it to. Sometimes it could just be a vacation.
That flame, the fire.
Yeah. Sometimes, and it happens in everyone. But, maybe it's a vacation. It's something that I think now we have to do more often because we, are at home all the time is, take that day off. It's okay. But, getting back to your question on, it's imperative for them to continue to perform at a high level. Not everyone performs at a high level right out the gate, but you've got to get to that point, I would say, before the end of year one, where you are outperforming your number. I'm a big believer in making quotas obtainable. There's, something about being over quota that is going to propel you to have higher numbers in the long run. Being under quota, if you're under by a severe amount, can just be debilitating. So to your point, it is a great stepping stone for an account executive role, but it's also a good stepping stone to an industry. If you come into a sales development role here in software sales, you may find out you like marketing more. And there may be an opportunity that, hey, your skills may transfer in a way, you know a lot about the market because you've been talking to them day in, day out. You're on the front line. There could be that, lateral movement in the company. But I'll tell you, the best way to learn an industry is get on the phone and start talking to people.
Heck yeah, man.
So sales development is great for doing that.
I agree 100%. Clearly you've got an elevated work ethic and drive, right? Yourself and athletics and your dad and, plays a big part in that, right? And kind of your upbringing. What motivates you?
I don't want to be corny and related back to sports, but I hate losing. I just hate losing.
My wife and I play men's and women's doubles tennis, against our friends. And I love these people, but I'm like, run. That's your, She's like, this is just fun. No, yes, it is fun. It's fun when you win. Okay. It's fucking win. Okay. Let's win. And then we'll have fun. Okay. Let's do that first. It's so funny. I didn't interrupt you, but it's so true.
No,
All right, go ahead.
Spot on. I think there's an analogy somebody used of, if you gave someone an option between a donut and a taser, they'd often choose the donut. Obviously they don't want to get tased, but the reality sometimes is that person may not really like the donut. They just don't want to get tased. Yeah. So what it is you're not necessarily driven by the reward, of, hey, I did my job, I won. You're driven by, I don't want to lose, the negative impact of the other side. So that'd be what motivates me. Not that I've got a taser behind me anyway, but I just I'm very competitive, and I'm competitive with myself. So, when I'm doing quarter reviews, month reviews, if I'm going in the wrong direction or our numbers aren't heading in the proper way, which thankfully we've been doing a good job of compounding and having the snowball effect, I'm going to work harder. I'm going to find a way to pull different levers, like you mentioned, whether that's taking a walk to then drive myself to work later into the night. It's not necessarily sitting at your desk for 10 hours, but figuring out how to get the most out of your day. So, really focusing on, that athletic point of view of, hey, let's not drink during the week because we're going to feel groggy the next morning.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, that's definitely true.
During lunch, I'm not going to go to Wendy's and get the 4 for $4 and then.
Oh, dude, did you see that new Wendy's burger with the onion rings and stuff on it? I saw the commercial. My son and I,
right down the street from me.
Eli and I were like, dude, let's go to Wendy's. And we don't eat that stuff, but that burger looks so good with pickles.
Photoshop of all the burgers. They've got a nice
it's all photo. It's perfect. Yeah.
That looks
good. Erik, is there anything I should have asked you and didn't during this?
Nothing I can think of. I enjoyed the conversation. I think it was a lot of back and forth that, for anyone listening that has more questions, feel free to reach out.
What's the best way for our listeners to connect with you? How do you want them to connect and reach out to you?
LinkedIn. If you can share the video and just include my LinkedIn, they can get me there. Email Groninger, my last name, at sticky.io. Or hey, I mentioned if you wanted to stand out, find my number and call me. I'll respect the game. I promise you I'll get back to you if you reach out to me and you say, hey, I'm looking to do X, Y, or Z. I've been in your position. I am in your position. I have teammates that are in your position. So, I respect the hustle.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Great advice. All great advice given. It is Friday morning. Any big plans? You going scuba diving at all this weekend? Have you seen that skit with Ralphie May? He's now passed away, but oh my God!
I'll send you scuba diving.
Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God! He's like, I don't be trusting enough that little tank to have enough air and oxygen for me. It's all your world, player. He's hilarious. I'll find the Cuba diving link. You'll literally, you should start your day off with it just because it's hilarious. So any big plans this weekend?
No, hopefully the weather's nice. Maybe go out on the boat. Nothing too big.
Awesome, buddy.
It's best time here in Florida. The fall and the spring is when you get the best weather. And I don't even know if there's 2 seasons here. It's more of summer and January.
Not our January up here in New England, man. Trust me. You don't want that. You don't want that. Eric, this has been great. I'll put a link to your LinkedIn profile in the description of this podcast and video vlog. Dude, you and I will be in touch very soon. I appreciate you. Really appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks, Justin. Great talking to you.
Buddy. You too.
Have a good one, man.